At what age do you want to retire?
65,
How long does it take you to get ready in the mornings?
very quickly. 5 minutes to or 10 with a shower.
Favorite color?
Blue.
What time of day are you most inspired?
Early, 10 a.m.
How many hours of sleep can you survive on?
I'm a father to a new daughter, so I think right now 5 hours, but really I'd love 8. 8 is now the nirvana of sleep, but yeah.
The city in which the best kiss of your life happened?
London, my wife. No, can't be anywhere else.
How do you relax?
Watching TV shows, eating dinner with my wife.
How many cups of coffee do you drink per day?
Too many, maybe 5 or 6.
The most valuable skill you've learned in life?
It's not a skill, but whenever I feel very stressed or worried about something, I always just tell myself this will pass. It'll feel small. In a week's time, in a year's time, it'll feel small. So it allows me to stay calm even when I feel very overwhelmed.
Your favorite Netflix show?
Money Heist came to mind then. I don't know. It's so good. Maybe because I'm in Europe, but yeah.
Are you an early riser or a night owl?
Early riser with a baby.
One word description of your leadership style?
Trusting.
Coffee or tea to kickstart your day?
Coffee.
Top priority in your daily schedule?
Writing my to-do list. Like prioritizing up front.
Ideal vacation spot for relaxation?
Like beach, white sand, oceans, cocktail, that kind of thing.
Key factor for maintaining a work-life balance?
Give yourself lots of time for the life part.
Well, so that was the end of the rapid fire. Let's go on to the longer questions. So you've had an impressive journey from YouTube UK sports to leading global sports partnerships at TikTok. How has your experience in the technology and content industries shaped your approach to working with sports partners today?
I think what I've learned since being in this part of the sports sector is that everything you do needs to be backed with data. This is something I really encourage from my teams is if you're speaking to one of your partners and you don't have a data point or evidence of it can be written factual of any kind, it's just your opinion. And I'm a strong believer that you need real factual sides to back up what you're trying to do. And platforms like TikTok have amazing data analytics sources or case studies that we're about to launch one with DAZN, for example, around the Club World Cup, which has clear proof points why you should do something. I think that's a really important part. And then maybe the second one I noticed throughout and from various social media platforms is when a company really signals intent that their work, this is our priority. And when they also match that with the users are demanding it, there's clear interest. And they tell any sort of media partner, creator, or a public figure that this is what we're going to do. Those who jump on it first, the early adopters, they're the ones who win. They get the biggest growth, the biggest advantage. Just like, which leagues did join TikTok first almost 7 years ago, that kind of thing. And so one of the ones for us right now is we have clear data to show that all types of fans, of sports fans on TikTok, want to see match highlights, whether they watch 1 hour a day or 16 hours. Those fans, we have this matrix, and they might, athlete content is interesting, behind the scenes, funny comedic content, training, but across every single fan type we found, match highlights number one. So we take that user interest and we work on how do we look at more match highlights from partners quicker for the final whistle, of different formats, different types, the more creative spin that TikTok can be. And so we work with our partners explaining that. So great way of seeing an example where we lean in, and it's amazing when partners come along with us.
So highlights is one example. How do you in general balance the fast-paced tech world with the more traditional world of sports and organizations?
I think one of the beauties of sports is the calendar for almost the next 10 years. The La Liga has started and finished in roughly a similar time. The World Cup's 12 years ahead, Olympics, Winter Olympics. And so with our partners, we can plan further ahead. We can be we can give them as much time and indication of what we want to do, which is a real, I think, superpower in the sports industry is you can schedule out that calendar. So with that, we're already planning with various partners what we want to do for the Winter Olympics or for the World Cup. We're working out what that unique value proposition is for broadcasters, for the athletes, for the teams. And so when sometimes in the tech world, you can move really fast and try and do things really quickly, but actually you need to match and marry up that pace with the cadence your partners are working to. And so with that, we've learned at TikTok that we can plan 2 years out for a tournament and build incredible products, which we're doing right now that I'll be demonstrating later in the talk. We have these kind of match hubs where you can come through from the For You page where the most viewership is, where the highest traffic is, and we can link through to broadcasters. So when the game is live, there'll be the match score. And if you click through that, you could go through to NBC in the US when watching Olympics content. And at the same time, when the game's not live, you can add the match information to your calendar. So we know that we can build those products which meet also our partners' biggest needs. So although your question was around like, how do we marry the pace or maybe like the tech world, we importantly, especially at TikTok, we are solely focused on being the best partner and most valuable partner we can be to those publishers.
Are there any other examples of the unique value TikTok brings to sports leagues, federations, and broadcasters compared to other platforms?
So I think what we've worked on since February, actually, we've worked on building products that are designated just for sports partners. They are made first and foremost and designed with leagues, teams, broadcasters to drive the exact value they're looking for. This is incredibly rare and almost unheard of because we're changing the app, the user experience, and the publisher experience just for one vertical. And so in doing so, it means that the outcomes and outputs of those products are perfectly designed to the needs of the partner. The page I was just describing, these kind of match destinations which can drive tune in. We've had a survey that shows that 42% of TikTok users are more likely to tune in or stream a live match after watching sports content. So we know there's that natural behavior, but now we have direct attribution where we can track how many people click a deep link that goes straight into live broadcast. That is our partner's core product, live sport. Whether you're the broadcaster, the league, the team, that is what is so important that people are watching. Whether you're 55 plus or Gen Z, whether you are international or from the market that sport is from, that is their key need. And so these products are very unique. And then the second point is linked. We're okay driving users off platform, which is almost unheard of when in the current world, everyone wants stay time and maximum like customer lifetime, all these kind of like metrics. For us, we're confident and comfortable that, for example, with DAZN for the Club World Cup, 500,000 users went through to DAZN's website or app, and those 500,000 users can sign up and then watch that competition. The value there is really clear. We also, the confidence comes that we know those users come back to TikTok. Their daily active user numbers don't change. And we know that they come back because TikTok's this cultural engine and centerpiece that conversations are starting first on TikTok. The discussion around a certain team, a certain league, the trends that might pop up around the show, the Summer I Turned Pretty, and American football teams making content about which team they support out of that TV show. Our confidence comes through that we're the first place they go. And so therefore we can create this cycle.
What are the key challenges then sports organizations face when trying to engage Gen Z and younger audiences? And how does TikTok address those challenges?
The reality is just that the next generation of fans aren't showing up as much in the traditional destination where live sports has previously dominated. That doesn't mean to say they can't. And as I was just describing, we're looking to ways how we can drive that behavior. Um, it's the fact that around that live match, the key moment, we can find the demographics which maybe aren't there on the traditional means. So that could be the fact that 46% of all sports content viewed on TikTok globally was viewed by women. So almost half of all content was female viewers. That doesn't exist in any stadium on earth. It doesn't exist on any broadcast feed, on any other platform. It is really unique to TikTok. And we know that we can utilize and support our partners in growing female fandom. It's the same with the youth demographic. It's kind of almost well documented that Gen Z and Gen Alpha are discovering new sports on TikTok. They may never have watched basketball before, but they see a piece of fan creation and decide to follow the NBA or EuroLeague. So we had that kind of superpower in terms of being able to access what partners aren't necessarily accessing elsewhere, but also being open to directing them direct back to the key area they want them to be.
So given all this rapidly evolving digital marketing landscape, what key skills should the next generation of sports marketers develop to thrive in this environment?
I think to my original question, being data driven and backing your decisions. So we have Fox Sports in America have been live streaming all of the build up to their Euros matches or the Copa America matches. And they've done it and what they do is they leave the first 5 minutes of the game live on TikTok for some of the most important games, the final, for example. They've done the same with the top of the first innings in baseball, and they're looking to do that more. They just noticed there was a clear correlation and data they could use to show that by doing so, they were driving users to Fox's main destination. So there was data there. There was willingness to experiment and innovate around live. And then for TikTok especially, there needs to be this curiosity to be creative. The foundation of the fact that TikTok's trends start and the cultural side of the For You page, it all comes from users, creators, athletes, but also broadcasters or teams being really creative with their content. The BBC during the Euros, as an example, would have split screen highlights where it would have the manager's reaction and then the actual match action below. During the Super Bowl, Fox actually, again, they had Jameis Winston, a really brilliant quarterback, active in the crowd, mic'd up, commentating on the game. So you would have both the match action and then his immediate reaction in the crowd. We've gone so far from just the landscape match live stream to a point where broadcasters can be really creative. So data driven, willing to innovate, and also that kind of creative side.
So you play football every Sunday night. How important is personal passion for sports in your professional role? And do you think it influences your strategy at TikTok?
I'm delighted that Avondale Park 8-a-side match, which I've been playing for almost 30 years, 20 years, 25, I think, is getting in here, which is great. So in terms of how it plays a part, well, obviously I have a passion for football, for sports as a whole. And I think just in life, if you are working on something you have an affinity to and you love that subject matter, it makes doing the tasks and even the most boring parts, the most difficult bits, it makes it more enjoyable. However, I do also think I've never played ice hockey. I grew up in London and I've not been to a match, but we have an amazing ongoing relationship with the NHL. And I can appreciate the beauty of amazing content there as well. So it's not a prerequisite, but it is definitely helpful. I think the other part is when you grew up with just inherent knowledge of being able to know, as a Chelsea fan, what the team was like in 1987. You can have just like a built-in encyclopedia understanding of certain sports. And so I rely on that so much. So my team, there's a person in LA who it just knows everything about basketball. Someone in New York who knows everything about American football. So I can utilize those amazing skill sets and understandings.
As in, to what extent will apps start trying to get into every niche and for that reason also need to employ people good at that niche?
Oh, okay, I see. So I don't think it's critical to employ people with love of the specific niche. I think they just need to love the overall sports, because I think you can appreciate and learn so quickly another sport as long as if you put the time in. And so I think, especially from a TikTok perspective, we work with absolutely every sport on earth. And that's our goal for when any user comes to TikTok, that they can find, from canoeing to kung fu, they find their favorite team, their favorite athlete, the content they want anywhere, any place. So it would be impossible to then hire like your canoeer and your kung fu maestro. And so I really think it's more about just loving the overall medium of sport.
So, as you've been saying, TikTok is known for its rapid, data driven approach to content. How do you use data insights to shape sports partnership strategies?
Um, all the time. So we're continually prioritizing that kind of calendar event I was talking about, in terms of, you could work with everything in advance. We look at various tent poles that we try and work out what has the biggest impact in each market, what drives either consumption or supply, the amount of pieces of content on TikTok, but also the amount of people wanting to watch it. There is a ton of different metrics, but essentially it comes down to just prioritization of the resources. A lot of the products I've spoken about require, engineering and R&D hours. So it's trying to match up your resources with what you want to get out of it, based on those priorities. When we speak to our partners, we use data the entire time. We run regular business reviews with leagues and broadcasters and teams, which will go through their performance on TikTok. So we can explain to them that a certain format, maybe a split screen highlight I was mentioning, is performing really well. And so we can encourage them to look at whether there's the opportunity to do more of that. And throughout those processes, we learn as well. We learn from our partners, who are incredibly good at looking at their own analytics and have such a great finger on the pulse when it comes to what's performing on sports as well. So overall, it's a continual process. I think every doc we have will have some sort of chart or table in it, and it's just key. It's almost just a whole language that you have to include.
And how do you ensure long term strategic alignment between TikTok and its sports partners beyond short term campaigns or viral hits?
Super simple, actually. Our mission of the team is to be the most valuable platform for sports publishers, and so everything we do is geared towards that. And so if we're always constantly trying to drive value to our partners, we should therefore always be aligned to short, medium, long term, super long term goals, because everything we're doing will adapt towards their priorities. Some of the other products I mentioned, we have something called a comment Easter egg, where anyone who comments on a video, a specific term, it'll create this kind of animated experience that comes up. We've noticed that on accounts where we've done that, whether it's the Champions League, whether it's March Madness in America or the Women's Euros, that the amount of comments on a video goes for a 10x growth. So it could go from 4,000 to 40,000. And so we're driving mass engagement. We know that for our partners, when their biggest events are on, the finals, the big tempo, they want everyone to be aware of it. So this is a key area that we can just drive that engagement. And again, you can see that the focus for us aligns to what they need.
Let's talk a bit about publishing then. How do you partner with publishers to enrich the sports community on TikTok itself?
It's a good question. So I think from a publishing perspective, we often, there are different parts of it. One is the kind of those business reviews I was mentioning, where we can describe to our partners organically the kind of content they should be focusing on based on data. But also we have these products which feed into the types of content they can publish. So these destinations can take a specific match highlight, which will link through to the broadcaster's external page. And also we can provide weekly reports on what's trending as well. So we can let them know that this kind of moment, this conversation is happening on TikTok, and we can explain to them that their content and adaptation of it towards it will benefit and be a great way to grow. We work with athletes as well. one of the recent partnerships with the ATP, where at the US Open, we had a joint goal of onboarding a large amount of tennis players. That's went really well. We had 11 join the platform, some really big names in the US. And so part of that, we are just broadening out the ecosystem. So from a publisher and athlete perspective, sports or tennis just got better. Tennis having a really great moment, cultural movement, I think, on TikTok. All the players, straight after the US Open, Alcaraz and Sabalenka are making funny videos with their trophies. They're going on the Today Show and they're joking and having a great time. The one thing to not forget is that throughout all these threads, when advising publishers on content, it's about still having a personality, still adding a unique twist to TikTok. Whether that's using traditional content or film natively for TikTok, you can always add a creative layer that can drive it forward. So really, there's we give advice, we give tools, we give products, and we just kind of pave the way for our partners to create more and do better with it.
How do you convince the athletes to join?
Um, a few various different ways, but a lot of the time it's explaining that similar audience opportunity. So I spoke earlier about all sports content having a 46% female audience. Athlete content jumps massively to 75%. So 3 in 4 people globally watching athlete content are women. And so from a league perspective, team perspective, and athlete perspective, you want to drive female fandom. That is an incredible way to both encourage your athletes or they themselves to kind of dive into that. So there's that kind of audience play. But then also there's all sorts of branded content they can work on, and a way to also monetize their traditional sponsorships and previous relationships as well. So it's a mixture. We also have promotional programs that we can try and support them with. And really, if there are any athletes watching this, and I know our teams are incredibly open to working with more and more to facilitate them on TikTok.
So what does a typical day look like for you as the global heads of sports partnership at TikTok? What are the biggest priorities you focus on daily?
Um, So typical day is just speaking to a lot of people, start to finish, whether that's my own team, who are absolute rock stars, speaking to the biggest and most important publishers, sports publishers around the world, wider publisher teams who are the ones we work with on building these tools, on the programming and resourcing to make it all happen, or across TikTok, different parts like TikTok Shop, TikTok Live, and various parts where we can connect and do more. And then our partners, speaking to our partners a lot. So throughout that chain, what I'm trying to do is really just create opportunities, reduce down any blockers, and make sure my team and others have the best chance of success, while sticking to that mission I was talking about of whenever a fan comes to TikTok, they find what sport they're looking for. And then that important part from my team specifically, that we're driving absolute maximum value to sports publishers as well.
Oh, so the last question for you is of a personal kind. What would you be doing in your life if not this?
I had a history of working in gaming. So it's going to be tangentially close. So I'm not going to suddenly say like a football player. I'd love to be a superstar actor, but not quite me. But I've worked in the space of both sport and gaming. I could see in myself definitely leaning into that gaming side, whether at a platform, a publisher, a developer, or back in kind of similar social media as I do now. I personally enjoy video games as well. So that could be something that I know I would, as we spoke about having a passion for the topic, I could lean into a passion there. And also there's a great crossover between sport and gaming, whether that's EAFC, Madden, 2K for NBA. All of these different sports have fantastic gaming communities. And it's a great example where you have this intersection between gamers, posting content, but also the sports, the athletes, the creators on the other side, and they can make content together. So I would say something in the gaming industry.
It's interesting because so much of what we do now is gamification. I'm sure TikTok is itself a bit of gamification of how one interacts with. that comes in there as well?
Yeah, we actually are the biggest thing we've done so far in terms of development was the last Olympics in Paris. We had a gamification page which allowed users to come to the Olympics page, which was promoted in a vast array of different ways, which are highly effective. And when they were there, if they took certain actions, they'd win points. And at the end of the Olympics, those points could be transferred into prizes. But the actions could be something like follow 3 accounts and win the points. So people were coming back each day, so there's that return usage. And so at first they followed the Olympics account, NBC if they're in the US, or Warner Brothers, or BBC if they're in the UK. But after that, they'd come back and start following the athletes. And there was this one athlete in Team GB who grew 40,000 followers without posting a single video. When he realized, he started using it, and he now has brand deals and various use of the platform. He's earning far more from TikTok than he ever did as an Olympian. So there's that brilliant example. I think the Olympics channel doubled their follower count, their lifetime followers, so from 9 million to roughly 18. And TikTok was by far the largest proportion of social media followers for the Olympics. The key bit there is sometimes with platforms or TikTok, people might be like, okay, 1 million, billion, 2 trillion views, like what does it actually mean? And what's the action? What's the next thing? We've spoken about tune in, driving to live, but on this occasion, it's specifically driving the action you want from that million, billion, or trillion users. One of the ones for the Olympics was posting a piece of content with Let's Move. And that's their key kind of CSR initiative to get people participating in sport. So it was spreading that information really well, and users were choosing to do it organically. So yeah, good question on gamification. That's it. Tease into what we're working on very much. Hello, my name is Rollo Goldstaub, and I'm the Global Head of Sports Partnerships at TikTok. You can catch me on the Marketer of the Month show